p.m. Wednesday, January 8th, 2020, City Hall Complex, Council Chambers. And one thing I forgot to say is, good evening. How you guys doing? Yeah. Vinieron por sus cheques. Ah, no, no son cheques, son placas. Ah, the real wrong. Okay, I call this meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Madam Clerk, would you please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Our pastor didn't come, so we're gonna skip invocation today. If you want to, a brief silent prayer. If you want to do yours, we could do a silent prayer for about a few seconds. That's okay. Thank you very much. Number 4, call to the public. I have one, Angie Lopez. Please state your name and your address for the record.
My name is Angie Lopez, 945 West Manor Drive, number 49, Nogales, Arizona.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council.
Good evening.
I'm the property manager there at the Mariposa Manor community, which is right off Industrial Road. And we have approximately about 540 residents. And myself and a couple other members of the residents are here to support Mr. Capon in his project. Because this is a safety issue for us, being that we have so many residents, adults, elderly people and children that are in and out. And it's very hard when the, semi trucks are parked double sometimes and it's not visible. So I think that with Mr. Capon's project, it will probably alleviate a lot of traffic, at least some, make it a little bit better. So we're here for support, and I thank you for your time.
Okay. Thank you very much. Is there anybody else in call to the public before we move this? Anybody else? Okay. We'll proceed. Number 5, presentation. Presentation of plaque winners of the 2019 Holiday Light Parade. With this, let's do a stand up. Voltear así, como pueden ver en inglés. We're going to start with the third place. And third place, best of parade. Third place, Trucas Truck Club. You guys did a great job. Congratulations. Los trucas, eh? Great job. Nomás que I just want to say one thing with the trucas. Para lo voy a regañar. Me robó el Santo Claus. No le hace. So Santa Claus wasn't supposed to be on your sled, right? But hey, you know what? I think it even worked out better. Yeah. It came out really nice. It really made the parade. You guys did a great job. Thank you. Next year it will be a lot better.
For all the members.
Yes, thank you. Gracias.
Thank you.
My wife and I were waiting at the end of the parade right in front of the Americana. And I'm going, where's Santa Claus is at? He was on top of a truck. But they did a sled. So they sat him on the sled. It looked pretty good. It wasn't meant to be that way, but it worked out okay. All right, best of parade, second place is Robert in Bradbury Elementary School. All the best. Give me a list of names, but I'm not going to read all the names. Good. Congratulations. 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 There you go.
Okay, thank you.
There you go. There you go. You guys did a great job.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. You guys did a great job.
See us? No.
Congratulations. Parade, first class, first place, Challenger Elementary School. Íbamos a dar un viaje a Hawái y uno a Cancún, pero no nos pudimos decidir qué cuál de ellos íbamos a darles, pero nos vamos a dar una placa. I want to thank you very much, and you guys did a great job too.
Thank
The
you.
parade was great, and we're going to do it after the next year. Thank you.
Felicidades.
¿No hay más?
Thank you.
Pero verás, there's a Challenger. Since you guys are here, this is a certificate of appreciation for the casita.
Oh,
All right?
thank you.
From my office too. From
Thank you.
It was a city council office.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
All right?
Thank you, we
And-
appreciate it.
Okay, and this is a certificate of appreciation of the casitas for my colleague. For all the work she's done, plus the casitas that they did. It's all big. The rest of them we're going to be sending to the schools and everything, because there's a bunch of them. Unless we have somebody out there that did a casita. Is there anybody else out there for part of our decorating one of the casitas? No? Okay. Okay, item number 6, executive session. Members of the council? Do I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much.
Second.
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 All in favor? Yes.
Is this motion on number 1 or number 1, 2, and 3?
That's what I was about
Okay,
to ask.
1, 2, and 3.
Well, let's
No.
do 1 first because 2 has its own
Yeah.
issue. So I really think that we can probably do 1 and 3 together, but 2 has to be done separately.
Separate. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Motion? 1 and 3.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Wait.
This is for 1 and 3.
1 and 3.
1 and 3.
Discussion.
Discussion.
I'd like to make a comment, and I would like for Mr. Massey to please listen to my comment. On number 3, there is a position, instruct as attorney in pending litigation, Rodriguez versus the Appeals Commission of Nogales. I just want the public to be aware that I did participate as a character witness for Mario Rodriguez at the appeal, and I just want to know, ask Mr. Massey, do I have a conflict of interest?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor and members of the council, thank you very much for that inquiry. Dr. Verona, no, the answer simply is very quickly no. I discussed this topic or this issue with Steve Coleman, who is here tonight, who is the city's outside attorney on this. And we are both very comfortable that although you did provide testimony, it was for a limited purpose and you did not indicate, an insurmountable, bias or anything of that nature. So you are elected member of the council, along with all the other elected members of council, has a right to be part of the discussion.
Okay, I wanted that clarity.
Yes. Okay.
Thank
I
you.
understand. I understand. Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. We'll be in executive session for a moment.
You want to do number 2 right now?
Number 2.
Number 2?
Did you want to do number 2? Mr.?
Well, number 2, is there, I think there's a sense that we should have a discussion before making a motion to go or not to go into executive session.
Are we tabling this?
Yeah, because I'm going to be tabling it, but we have some discussion on
Okay.
it with yeah,
With regards to tabling.
without regards to tabling. So I think we'd better do it last.
Okay,
Okay?
that's fine.
All right.
You'll come back out and
Yes,
talk
yes.
about
Okay.
going back in.
Yes, we'll do.
Yes. Or not.
Or not.
So let me go get the other attorney.
It's going to be short. Every time we go into executive session, we come out and nobody's here. No se vaya.
No, part of the diocese. They're part of the diocese.
Reconvene from executive session. Okay, number one. Is that the one we're going to be going?
Is executive session item number 2, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, yeah, okay, then we're going to go to them. Perfect. Okay, upon motion, city council may meet the session to discuss the South represents in order to consider his position, strike as representative. Okay. On this one, before I make a decision on this, you want some discussion on this before we even start on it? Because I'm going to be more. My motion is to table item number 2.
Okay, but what do we table? I mean, what is the process here? I don't understand.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, item number 2 is to have a discussion in the executive session.
Yes, I understand.
On the acquiring of some real property. There is no action item after this, so after we have our discussion, I'm not anticipating you coming out and making a vote on this. My recommendation is before you decide to, I would rather you go into executive session so we can talk about it, because if we table it and we don't have a discussion on this tonight, it has future ramifications as far as grants and stuff like that.
Support the city manager and move into executive session.
Okay,
Second.
On agenda item number 2, I do have a conflict of interest, and I do want to declare it, so I will not be going into executive session.
Okay, then we'll go into executive session.
Motion? I mean,
Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? See you later, Mr. Garcia. We convene from executive session. We're going to item number 7, discussion items. Discussing possible action to appoint Edward Johnson, city manager, and approve an employment service agreement.
Motion to name Edward Johnson as the city manager as discussed and to approve an employment service agreement.
Second.
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Number 2, discussion and direction regarding Bell Road. I put this on the agenda. The reason I put this on the agenda is because we've had discussion about this already. And I just want to make sure, members of the council, do I have to have a motion on this? No?
It's discussion and
No,
direction,
no, I don't
so
have
it's
to.
at your discretion.
No, that's all right, just discussion. Basically, I received a letter that I had already talked to Director Helikowski about. I had a meeting with him, acting city manager, Kissinger, John Kissinger, and myself. They came to City Hall to discuss this. And they basically explained to us what the procedure would be and what we needed to do and what they were going to do. So we asked them to write a letter and make sure that Mr. Capon would receive this letter. So I'm going to read this letter so everybody understands. It says, Dear Mr. Capon, this letter is to inform you of ADOT's intent to maintain the existing three-way configuration of Mariposa Road, State Route 189, Loma Mariposa Road intersection. As discussed at our meeting on June 19th, 2019, ADOT cannot construct the fourth leg to connect Loma Mariposa to Bell Road because the connection would be to a private road and no pre-agreement to dedicate the street to be a local maintained public road. The information that ADOT will not be able to install the fourth leg of the intersection adjacent to your property was conveyed to you and the attendees at this meeting. But then it also says, in the future, ADOT will work with the local government to provide an encroachment permit allowing the construction of the fourth leg to Bell Road when appropriate design and funding are identified. The upcoming State Route 189 improvement project referenced above will widen State Route 189 within the vicinity of this intersection. The widening will provide enough pavement width to allow for a left turn lane from State Route 189 to a future Bell Road connection. The new traffic signal at this intersection will have underground conduit to allow for signalizing the future fourth leg. And then it says, see the attached diagram. Basically what they're saying what they told us is that at this time, because it's not a city street, at this time it would not be something for us to even attempt to do because it's already in process of doing it because of the grant. If we were to get involved in something like this, we could probably push this project another 2 years or even longer. Or we lose the project. We will lose the project. So the best thing to do is allow the project to continue, and while the project is being constructed, because as you see, they're going to already widen that area. I don't know if you've seen the diagram on it. They're going to widen the area, and like Mr. Kissinger and I had explained to you the last time we spoke about Bell Road, that the stub out was going to be done, which is the plumbing for all the electrical for the intersection. So the intent of an intersection is there, not only by ADOT, by us, by everybody, all the players in this. But the one thing is that we have to be very careful in even attempting to change this process when it's already in process. So we have to make sure it gets started. Now, while they're doing the construction and everything, and they're working on it and spending money on this road, that's the time I think we're gonna have to sit down and discuss this. Not only ourselves, but with the private owners of that road. We have to sit down and discuss it and see what we're gonna do. But we do have to do something if you want it to be done in this leg. Otherwise, what happens is they'll complete the whole job, and then we're trying to do something down the road. Even though it's stubbed out, even though it's widened, even though it's prepared, what Director Halakowski said to me is that they wouldn't do the return. He says, Mayor, we cannot do the return into that private property, because what's going to happen is runoff from the road is going to divert into the return into private property and go down the street on Bell Road. So they have to leave it curbed and everything, so everything runs off on the street on Mariposa Road. So we have to make a team. I'll tell you this right now. As a city, with the property owners, our engineering department, our city manager, and figure this out. If we can't be a team, olvídate. If we can't be a team to do this, because the thing is that, Mike, you have things to do, as well as we have things to do. And ADOT will do them only if we're together. Otherwise, they're not going to do anything. And at that time, we have to recognize what we're going to do, and it's got to proceed, not like to next week. Or you have to start right now, because once you start the construction, they'll start the construction, start widening, and we have to be prepared to see what we're going to be able to do, to see if they're going to be able to do the return. Go ahead, Michael. Wonderful.
My name is Michael Cape at 949 West Bell Road. Good evening, Mayor, Council. Sounds great what you're saying up here. I really like what you're saying. I like what you were saying 2 months ago. 2 months ago, you gave explicit, direct instructions to Mr. Kissinger to contact me immediately. We were still within the window to get some of that budget from ADOT. I never got contacted. Why should we believe you all now that we're all going to be a team and something's really going to get done?
Well, Mike, let me explain. Not until after that meeting did I have a meeting with Director Halakowski. And you have to understand that this is not something the city's just going to break up off and just doing it. I need direction from them too. They're the ones doing it, and matter of fact, some of the monies that are coming, they're not coming directly from the state. So there's different angles of bringing that money in, and they told me, we cannot disrupt this. And in the meeting, John, you were there with me. I said, Mayor, if you tell me right now that you want to do this, we stop everything. We stop everything right now. And we can't allow that to happen.
All right, we can't change what happened in the past, but going forward, really, do I really have a commitment from you all that we're going to have a team, we're really going to work on this?
We have to, and that's the only way it can be done.
Okay, when can we set up a time and set up an agenda so we can really talk about this?
We have to do it as soon as possible. We got to sit down, and I want you to sit down with John, and the new city manager will be coming in on Monday next week. We'll bring them up to speed, and then we can have the engineering and everybody. But you have to help us out too, okay? Not as a team. I mean team. All right, not just one direction, because that's what ADA wants to hear. They want to know that we're a team, and that we do want to do this down the road, okay? But it's not that we're here trying to stop something from happening. We want to do it, and we all understand circulation of traffic. We all understand all that, and we also understand economic development. There's been people out there saying that we don't care about economic development. That's not true. We care about economic development. We care about the circulation.
I've been one of those people that have said that. Yeah.
But the thing is that you do have to understand what we have, okay? And I know you do. You have a private road. We have a section of road. All of it has to be put up to par. Mm-hmm. And the best way to do it is get together, figure it out, and then we'll go to ADOT and say, you know what, we're ready for this. So that while they're building the flyover and doing everything, they understand that we're there, and then maybe some shuffling of money or whatever, however they do it at ADOT,
the federal government, then we can get things done.
In addition, I understand they're under budget already for this road. In addition to that, I've already talked to the Port Authority. There's money from the overweight trucks that can help this road as well, as far as a connection and repaving or whatever else we have to do on private and public part of Bell Road.
Yeah, we could, I'm not saying we can't use overweight money. We can't use it on a private road, but we can use it on our section. But if we don't agree and come up with what's gonna happen with your partial, then we can't use it. That's what ADOT is telling us. ADOT doesn't wanna touch it unless it belongs to the city of Nogales. So let's come up with that and let's figure it out, man.
Well, we've been wanting to work on this since last May, so you tell us when we can meet and we'll be here.
Well,
This is critical, this is important.
Mr. Arona, were you gonna say something?
Yes, thank you,
Go
Mayor.
ahead.
I'm in agreement that we don't want to jeopardize all the work, years of work that we have done as a team with other community members like the Port Authority to get this. Okay? This is something that the congestion on 189 is going to increase, and it's going to jeopardize health and safety of people who travel that road. I also understand that the state of Arizona can't participate unless the road is a public road. Granted. I also understand of us all working as a team, using the funds that we can to get this taken care of. What I just want to make sure is, I don't want to go back to when we started 5 or 6 months ago and we get bogged down with city regulations. That's what I don't want to. If we're going to say we're going to start this thing all over again, which I concur with you, but if we're going to start the same thing all over again, which means the identical dialogue that we had 6 months ago, everybody's just going to get as frustrated. So there's got to be a meet and greet someplace there. Mr. Mines.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, I just want to bring to Mayor and Council's attention that we have ordinances that relate to the development process, and those ordinances have been formally adopted, and they have the effect of local law. So it's not appropriate for council to direct staff to disregard ordinances.
But that we can direct staff to bring us back ordinances that we can have some leverage.
We can amend the ordinance, yes.
If
you
well,
direct
that's what I'm
staff,
saying.
right, but as the ordinances stand now,
Correct.
my opinion is we have to follow those regulations. Those are not advisory. They are law, and that's direction. Now, if you don't want to follow the direction from those ordinances, and if you think those ordinances shouldn't apply in this situation, then yes, we need to bring the ordinance back for an amendment by City Council as a formal amendment, and then whatever regulations are disregarded in this situation are going to be disregarded in all situations. Just to be clear, everyone has to be treated the same.
Mr.
Well,
Mayor,
if we,
Mr. Michael,
Yes, go ahead.
when you say that, are you saying you're going back in history with particular situations in the past that were done before?
No.
Or from that date on?
Right. So if we change the ordinance from that date on, the ordinance is applied to everyone alike.
Okay,
But the ordinances are mandatory.
right.
And just, it's binding on council as it is binding on staff until council amends it or changes it or throws the ordinance out the window. But at that point, then it's going to be applicable to everyone, and it may be difficult to reimpose regulations after that, because there's a general concept that once you let regulations lapse or go, then there's some difficulty in reimposing it.
so maybe,
go
Mayor,
ahead.
that when you get together with this meeting in a team effort like the mayor alludes to, all of this can be spread out, talked about, people offer solutions. But I just don't want to go back to what was and say, this is what it is, and we're not going to move from this, because then we've accomplished nothing. Now, when you come to the mayor and council, if you decide to amend it, you can amend it. There are consequences to the amendment. Or you can just take the project on, take it, and you can contribute money toward it though too. So bring us solutions. I'm tired of people leaving Nogales, whether it's for residential or commercial, and moving out of our community, okay? So there's gotta be some type of give and take here.
You know, the first discussion I had about 189, Councilman Varona, was in 2012, going into my second year in there. And we had it in Casa Grande, for the transportation summit we had there. We talked about this back then. That's how long it's been around, Michael. It wasn't last May.
We know, we agreed to it. We
Okay.
wanted that intersection there back in 2012.
12.
And we
okay?
agreed to it.
That's how long it's
Yeah.
been. So, you know, it comes and falls in our lap now. You know, and you just had 4 years, and part of my first administration, you know, I wish we should have sat down back then and said, you know what can we do? So we won't be discussing and pushing it close to the construction date.
Well, see, we didn't realize we were not going to have that left turn lane onto SR 189 going southbound until May. Or else we would have been talking
Yeah, but
about
there's
it way
been some
before.
configuration on the plans, you know, but the thing is that, you know, do you remember there was 3 concepts on getting to I-19?
Absolutely. There's a Wilbur
One
Smith,
by the border, by
yes.
the hospital,
I remember that.
one by the intersection where the border patrol's at, and this intersection. And want me to tell you, this intersection was the last one they picked because of the congestion of the high school. They actually wanted it in the middle where Mariposa Road is at, where the border patrol, where it changes right there. That's where they wanted it. What happened in the past 4 years that I wasn't here? But when I was mayor, that was the one. The one nobody wanted was at the port, because it would take everybody immediately out of from the port on I-19 and going. And this one was actually like number three, because of the congestion of the high school. Everybody was concerned of the congestion of that intersection. And this was picked. Okay, now I come into office and I got handed this in my lap. You know, and I understand. You know, I used to be the public works director, Michael. I mean, you'll see. But you know, we have to look at it, and like Councilman Varona said, we have to sit down as a team. But not you this, you that, you this. No, let's sit down, open-minded, and let's all think about it and as a team and express our opinions and see what we can get done.
Mayor,
Yes, go ahead.
if I may. You know, from my point of view, I think that the times that I've hit a wall is when the discussion, and I'm glad that you brought it out, Councilman Varona, is the regulations or the laws. When that would pop up, it would be like the wall for me. It's like, oh, well, the law is there. We can't change it for everybody else. But somewhere along in those months, that's the solution for us. This project's got to be done. The solution is bring us the amendments, and we'll do it. And if it comes out with somebody else, then we'll do amendments there. Whatever takes care of that project. The laws and regulations are there for a purpose. Fine, let's abide by them. But sometimes we're going to have to finish a project with an amendment, as in this case. Because we want it, you want it, the community needs it. So let's get it done. And if it comes up again in this administration or future administrations, then do it again. We already did it once. We'll do it again. But it seems like we're stopping ourselves.
Right. So, if I can be heard,
Yes, go ahead.
Councilman Rojas and you know, members of the council. So, as I understand it, the Planning and Zoning has provided Mr. Capon with a formal letter saying his application is incomplete. These are the items that we need in order to process his request, such as a traffic study and things like that. So is that what council wants? Do we want to bring an amendment back where we just start lining out that you don't need a traffic study, in which case no one in this situation will ever provide the city with a traffic study? And, you know, that's what we have to do. You can't just say, amend it and approve it. You have to strike out whole
Yes.
regulations that will then never again be applied.
Well, Mr. Massey, even though there's people in this room that don't like when I travel, But when I went to San Antonio for the city summit, they made exceptions to certain areas of the community just for growth that they didn't do to everybody else.
For the river walk.
The river walk.
And all
To
that.
build the river, they
That's
made
right.
exceptions to their
That's
established
right.
rules.
And they made it work.
So if they can do it to have economic growth there, I'm not convinced. Why can't we do it?
Well,
There has to be an avenue. And if we have to send you to San Antonio to find out, we'll send you to San Antonio, even though they don't like it.
Mr. Massey, with all due respect, we built this road per city requisites and their development site plan 15 years ago.
And it was
And
built
now
on
they would
private
like us,
property, right?
they would like us to start from scratch, starting with a new road. I'm not gonna tear up a perfectly good road that we did a geotech study on. Stands up 99% better than all the roads in Nogales, with the exception of one concrete road that we all just obtained. I'm not gonna tear up my road. It's a great road, and there's gotta be exceptions. You gotta help out small business, you have to help out the community. This is an easy way of doing it.
Let's not take this any further. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your comments. Let's get the team together.
And
Thank you,
that's-
Make
Mayor,
a
this
plan.
is something that I would like to see placed on our regular meetings every month as an agenda item so we can stay abreast of this. I don't want it to die off for 2-3 months. and then say, "Oh,
I'm gonna
let's
look.
stay on top of this."
I'm gonna tell you this right now that I myself will be involved in this. Okay, so I'll be part of the conversation in the meetings, except that you're gonna have to bear with my time that I have because of my work. But if you bear with that, I'll be part of the meetings and I'll make sure that everything gets done. Okay?
Thank you for your time, and look forward to being part of the team.
Yes, let's do that.
And Mayor,
Yes.
just a quick note on that. I won't take any more time on this, but on future agenda items, and I'll address what you just mentioned, Dr. Brano.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Mayor.
members of the council, and I'll sit down with you, John, and we'll talk about this and we'll work it out, okay? We'll see what we can do, Mr. Massey. Okay? Thank you very much. And thank you, Michael, again. Okay, number 3, discussion and direction, possible action regarding a dog park. I made this one too. Put this one myself. Okay, you guys have a dog? Yep. Okay, who else
Yeah.
has a dog?
I have a dog.
You have 2 dogs. Do I have 3 dogs? Do I have 4 dogs?
3 dogs.
Oh, we got dogs then. Okay. I don't have dogs. I used to have one. I have cats. And there's no way we can make a cat park, but we can make a dog park. I'm bringing this to discuss because I think it's time that we create a dog park, and we have perfect land for this. You know, there's a place where my friend likes to fly these planes and helicopters, and we're going to take it away from him, you know, because he already crashed 2 planes and a helicopter, and he cannot afford any more. Do you know who that is?
I didn't know he did that.
He does that. He loves doing that. This is in Meadow Hills. It's by the lagoon, by the frontage road on the 4-way stop. No, not the 4-way stop, the 4-way. And just towards going into Meadow Hills where the dry ponds are at. There's a nice area there. It's city property. It's grassy. The only thing we would probably have to do is to get it going is know the area that we would fence with a 6-foot fence, chain link fence. Put the entrance, a small parking area. It's grassy, like I said. We would have to mow it, and then I met with Marcel, Recreation Director, and with the Clean City, Healthy City initiative that we have, and the groups that we usually volunteer to clean. We could help with that. We could help creating the ramps for the dogs to play. And the Boy Scouts always are looking to do their for their badges, to do their work, and they're looking for mentors and stuff like that. We can use that for that. So we can turn it into a community park just to create it and to have fun and the dogs, and we'll make it divided half for big dogs and little dogs. And I just want to get your blessing on this so that we can have it probably be very inexpensive. Yes, sir.
Mayor, I go visit my grandkids all the time in Tucson, and they have dogs, and they go to the dog park all the time. And it's amazing to watch how many dogs are there, but all the big dogs and the little dogs are all together in Miranda. Very, very nice. The only thing is, Mayor, I am supportive of what you're saying here. I don't think it's an exorbitant. We're not looking at $50, $70, or $80,000. But if we can direct Marcel Bachelier to tell us where, I want to know where is it going to be exactly and where the parking is going to be, because I don't want a revolution for Meadow Hills.
No.
Because sometimes good things not done right, we get pushbacks on it. So I would make a motion, Mr. Mayor, to authorize Parks and Recreation Director Marcel Bachelier to present us a schematic of where the park will be located and what will be involved with it, especially with bathrooms, parking, and things like that, so that we can make a decision.
And the cost of the fence.
And the cost of whatever, the
fence.
parking, whatever, bathrooms, whatever, everything that has to do with it. That's a direction to Mr. Bachelier.
Perfect.
One second, then,
Second.
Mayor.
All right. Any more discussion? No. Hearing none? Oh, go ahead.
Do we stop there?
With dog parks?
No,
No.
I think it's the area
Oh,
calls-
no.
calls
This,
for
there,
more.
well, we got plenty of area.
calls for a
But
lot
this,
more
this would be
area.
something new, and I think it'd be very, very highly accepted by the whole community. Because I've been asked, queremos un parque para los mascotas, and they don't have anywhere. As you can see, you never see them walking around our parks here. And then you can have benches, you can plant trees.
Yeah,
We get donated trees we always donate them for the Clean City, Healthy City, Walmart and Home Depot do that for us. And we can plant the trees and do a lot of stuff.
And those people clean up after their dogs in the park.
Yes,
though,
yes.
too.
You have these little bags.
Baggies.
Inside the gate, you have little bags, and then they put their hand in it, and they pick up the goodie, and then throw it in the trash.
Yeah, Mayor, just in the past I had, talked to Dr. Felix on getting grants and stuff like that. Doing canopies, sand volleyball courts, doing a bunch of stuff like walking and all that. So
And that place would be
that was-
perfect
that
to
was
even put a trail around it.
the trail,
trails,
the
walking trails,
benches
and
for
benches
reading
and
and stuff like that.
Yeah, it'd be
That was-
perfect.
I had already
We have
talked
to
about
use that land for something like that.
Yes.
That'd be perfect.
I agree.
All right, thank you very much. All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Number 4, discussion, possible action regarding charter change for the 2020 election, general election, Councilman Varona and Rojas. Ooh.
Dr. Varona,
Okay.
go ahead.
Ooh.
Mayor, the first item that I want to address, I didn't bring the specifics, Mr. Massey, so if you can follow up, so you can bring it back. I want to make a change because I've had some problems, in particular my first 2 years, on trying to get agenda items onto the agenda. It even went to the extent that future agenda items were removed from the agenda to try and block me. They wanted to force me to go use what the charter says. I have to go get a signature from another councilman, and I refuse to do that. I am an elected official, just like anybody else here. These meetings are of the mayor and city council of Nogales. And if I, as an elected official, want to discuss something, it should be respected, and it should be put on the agenda for the next regularly scheduled meeting. Once you bring it up like that, it should be brought up. Now, the staff might come back and say, you know what? This is where we're at with this. We're not ready. We need some more time. Fine, but it doesn't get blown away and it disappears for that time. So I would like to see that if a councilman, any member of the council, wants an item listed on the agenda, that he requests it on a future agenda item on the agenda, and that has to be future agenda, that has to be a mandatory part of our agendas, and should be scheduled at our next regularly scheduled monthly meeting.
So,
Go ahead.
so if I understand you, Councilman Verona, then The process you would like to see written in is any council member who brings up an item or a topic at the future agenda items, then it's mandatory that it be placed on the next regular agenda.
Yes.
That sounds pretty simple.
Yes.
Okay, we can do it. And then, of course, future agenda items also has to be on every agenda.
Right, okay.
Okay.
The other,
Yeah, sorry.
the other
I think
thing,
I understand.
Mayor, is we got this, on June 24th, we got this thing on the proposed charter changes. And this is just a cleanup for the nominations and elections of mayor and council. Basically what they're saying here, because I don't know why it's still like that, it says a board of aldermen. There is no board of aldermen. We are a city council. There's some cleanups there, especially how long our terms are, and it's basically here. I think we should put this in there to get our charter cleared up, or how we nominate in the elections of the mayor and council. And then the final thing was that we were putting down here to make sure that the council, that there are no more departments. The departments are made on the recommendation of the city manager. So if we want to create a department or eliminate a department, we have the authority. We don't have to go to a vote of the people. And I think that's appropriate leeway for the mayor and council to have. I would also like to see that on
Yes.
there for the people.
Right.
I have it here in case you.
Yeah, I think that was a rough draft that maybe
This was
I
a rough
provided.
draft of June 24th, 2019. I have it here. That's all that I have there.
Thank you. Councilman Rojas?
Thank you, Mayor. Actually, if I recall correctly, I did make the request for this particular item to be on the agenda, but I believe we directed staff. And Mr. Kissinger, do you have any information on that?
Can I, let me tell you what happened. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, okay. I talked to Mr. Massey about it, not Mr. Kissinger, about the agenda, even though it was on the public. And I talked to Mr. Massey to look into it, because he wants to not only prepare a document or a charter change on what you want locally, but there's also other communities like you had mentioned.
Right.
Tucson has that. What you want to do,
Yes.
Tucson has it. So it's, and we talked about it, and he says, Mr. Mayor, could you give me the opportunity to work on this so that I can get it prepared properly so I can do this? And I told him that I would express to you, but I told them that I would do it on the council meeting, not in my office.
Oh,
So that's why I'm doing it right now. And we talked about it, and he basically knows your intent and what you want. But if you want to express that to Mr. Massey, what you had talked about it, then it's fine. You can do
No,
that.
that's
Yeah.
actually very
But he
good.
knows-
And,
he knows
and actually, it's really good because it's an update on how we're handling
Yes,
it.
sir.
And I think it's getting done, and
I
it
think
does
it-
require a little bit of time.
And he told me that he's got other things, Mr. Massey's
Sure.
got great ideas about the charter, because the way it's, explain to him the way it's numerated and everything.
Right, and there's a couple other just house cleaning items I think
They
maybe
need to
I
be
put in there.
addressed.
One is just renumbering all the sections, because right now we have like section 1 to section 99, but there's a 67A and there's a 68A. So there's oddities in the numbering. And what other charters have that I've seen is every chapter starts with section 1. And it has as many sections as you need in order to cover that. And so what we have is we have chapters, and then the sections just keep running into the, so let's say chapter 7 ends at section 62, well then chapter 8 will start at section 63. And so it's like the chapters don't have, meaning and significance. And what that does is it makes it hard to make the charter a living document for future amendments, because, we're going to tackle a lot, but there's going to be a lot more that can be done. And so, yeah, just doing things like that to make it a little bit more user-friendly. And so, so I'll bring back these little ideas like that. And so I requested the mayor to schedule this for a study session.
Yes.
And we can just,
So
it's going to
he's
be
gonna
like
work
kind
on
of a
it, and then
long
we're gonna
study
get
Okay.
session, but we
That's
can
excellent.
kick it
Okay.
out.
No, that's fine with me.
It'll be a lot better. I think that we can, he'll bring more information to us in the study session, and we'll do it as soon as possible.
And by when do you have to submit this to the county?
We have to submit this 120 days ahead of the election. So we're
November.
looking at November. So we're looking, we gotta wrap this up. I'm not suggesting we take as long as June, but it has to be wrapped up in June.
Okay.
I would
Just to
suggest,
make sure.
let's have a good, thorough study session, maybe in February, and then action items, possibly, final document in March.
Okay?
Makes sense.
All
That's
right.
fine, Mr. Mayor.
Yes,
Thank
go
you,
ahead.
Also, maybe like you said, Tucson has a charter, maybe another city has a charter. I think at one time they was looking at the charter from Prescott or whatever. Maybe we can just maybe piggyback on somebody's charter.
That's my desire at every opportunity, is not to invent the wheel.
Right.
If there's language that we can just incorporate, and so that item that Councilmember Verona mentioned about administration, there is just a very short section in the Tucson City Charter, I believe I got it out of Tucson, that says, upon recommendation from the city manager, city council makes decisions on creating and uncreating departments. Very short, very simple, and then we take all the departments out of the charter.
Okay, we're good with that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you very much. Okay, and number 8, reports. Update on city and NUSD sidewalk project on Plum Street. Councilman Rojas, you wanted to send the...
Yes, thank you, Mayor. And again, I'll handle this item basically how I did the previous one, and I'll let Mr. Kissinger present that to us.
Thank you, Mr.
See how
Councilman.
that's going.
So, early on in 2019, the city of Nogales was made aware of a potential sidewalk issue on Plum Street. Our street department, engineering department, and public works director went out and looked at this issue. It became complicated, and typically if we have a sidewalk issue, we all know we could get that fixed in sometimes in the same day or the same week. It's typically not a problem. However, in this instance, it was a problem. As we went and looked at it, and I passed out a copy to all of you, and if you look at the last 2 pages of this, the problem is there's some erosion going on in a parking lot that is not owned by the city of Nogales, but is owned by Nogales Unified School District. That erosion that's going on in that parking lot is undermining our sidewalk and taking away the support of the sidewalk. The area has been cordoned off, and it has been since then cordoned off. And when the school superintendent got a hold of me and said, "Hey, John, we reported a sidewalk issue with the city and nothing has been done," I said, "Oh, we got to jump on this." So I instructed, the same day that he reported to me, I called Mr. Guerra and said, "Mr. Guerra, we got to do something over there." He says, "I already have the cost estimate, the April cost estimate, because when the school superintendent got a hold of me, it was, I believe, in June." So I shipped the cost estimates immediately over to the school superintendent, and I said, "Hey, listen, it's more than just a sidewalk, right? If it was a sidewalk, I would have had it repaired, but it's an erosion issue on school property." And at that time, I said, the city would be willing to participate in the solution to solve this problem. And I gave him a cost that we thought would be appropriate for the city to participate financially, and encouraged him to engage the contractor that we had obtained the quote from. That didn't happen, and I can tell you that from then until now, my dialogue with the school superintendent has, and this is after getting advice from our city attorney, was that the responsibility to do those repairs especially to the eroding hillside, build the retaining wall, backfill it all in, shotcrete it, and then put a new sidewalk on top of the backfill and put repair the fence, that responsibility lies with the school district. I can tell you that the school superintendent disagrees with my opinion. He believes it's strictly a city responsibility, not a school. And I can really professionally respect a difference of opinion. And I, just as of today, before this briefing, I have indicated to the school superintendent that maybe the best thing to do is to have both the city and the school district have their legal people come together and see if they could find out whose responsibility would it be, and if not, to look for a third party neutral to make the decision, be it a Superior Court judge, a local judge, somebody who can say, hey, no, listen, I'm listening to both sides and this is who's responsible. But I can assure this council that we have done everything that I think is prudent, even committing to funding some of the repair, to what I believe is more than what it would cost us to repair the same amount of sidewalk. So if I took that same sidewalk anywhere else in the city, it would be a lot less than that we're offering to do over there on Plum Street. There are similar cases that Mr. Massey briefed me on, and I'm sure he can brief you all on it right now, where the same thing happened with the county. Somebody was in I think it was with the county, and I'll let Mr. Massey brief you on his.
Well, the principle is a simple one, but it's kind of maybe difficult to how it applies in each case. But it's the concept that adjoining property owners owe each other what's called lateral support for the soil. And so what happened was when one of the big warehouses off of Frank Reed Road dug into the hill slope, you know, it was eroding that hill behind the county's property, and the county then instituted a couple of different lawsuits against a couple of different owners there, and they were successful because in making those property owners below shore up the where they had dug into the hill, you know, because you've now taken away the mutual support and to the disadvantage of the neighboring property. So I believe that principle still would apply in a right-of-way where the public right-of-way adjoins another property. We have to maintain each other's mutual support, and so when that has been dug away, the general concept is, well, then they need to support it. I've not been contacted by their attorney. I think the acting city manager has suggested that their attorney contact, and if I'm wrong, you know, well, we can have that discussion, and if there's a means by which we can reach a compromise, definitely let's talk about that. But that's just I think the principle I think is at issue here.
Well, I like the idea, Mr. Mayor, that the two attorneys get together, work it out, who's responsible, and then bring it back and go from there. And that way there's clarity.
I agree.
On both sides.
You know, I went to see it. I really don't think the sidewalk's going anywhere.
Yeah.
Because I remember that erosion 20 years ago.
Yeah.
It's been there for a long time. But it could be undermining and getting worse with time. Of course, it'll happen. But the problem is I think it's sandstone and limestone, and that breaks up a lot. It's not solid, decomposed granite that would stay up for a long time. So it's something's got to be done. So I hope we can come up with something and some dialogue with the schools or something with the attorneys.
I've been dialoguing like crazy with the school, Mr. Mayor, and I think it's all boiling down to really who wants to take responsibility to shore up that piece of property. The sidewalk's not the issue.
Yeah.
I mean, our crews can go out and lay a sidewalk in a day. That's not the issue. The issue is whose responsibility would it be to get a hold of a contractor, to accept the plan, right, to bless the work, and build and build this thing? I don't think it would be in our interest to accept that responsibility, but I could be wrong, and I'm also stating that off of advice that I've gotten from my city attorney, that wouldn't be prudent for the city to do. If I'm wrong and we should engage the contractor to do it, it's not for a will of not going and doing it. We could do it.
As engineering, but don't be hiding from me. No. Oh yeah. Have you measured to see if the right of way is where it's supposed to be? Do you know?
I checked today the assessor map, and it's supposed we have about 55 feet in that road.
The street?
Yeah, the street. Apparently, the right of way just is exactly behind the sidewalk.
So we're right on the sidewalk.
Yeah, we are right there.
Our right of way is the sidewalk, not the hill.
Not here.
Okay, so that's so we need
That's
to.
what it looks like too.
So that slope of the hill belongs to the school.
Correct.
Okay.
And something else that I would like to add, I had the opportunity to talk to the local contractor who provided the quote today, and he told me that in the last few months, the cost for the Portland cement concrete has increased drastically, like 30–40%. So at the time of the quote was about $100 per cubic yard. Now it's 130 to 140. So that he needs to amend the quote.
Yeah, of course, it's gonna change. So,
And I anticipate that.
Yeah, so this sidewalk was brought to your attention by the school?
Yeah,
Okay.
it was brought to somebody's in the city's attention by the school.
By the school.
And the follow-up was me,
Okay.
months later,
Yeah.
right, that, hey, nothing's happened. And that's when I became engaged and involved in it. And then I became much more engaged and involved because I thought the ball was really in the school district's court. But I came much more involved in it when Councilman Rojas asked to put it on the agenda,
Yeah.
because when he said in future agenda items, I'd like to discuss repair of a sidewalk on Plum. Honestly, Councilman, I didn't realize it was this. So the first thing I did was I asked our public works, go fix that sidewalk, so I can report back to the sidewalk's fixed.
Yeah.
Because I just thought it was a piece of sidewalk. But once I found out that no,
It was
it's this, then a lot more dialogue happened, and I kept you brief on my
Yes, and
conversation.
Mayor, if I may, when I came to light on this, the thing that to me it's embarrassing to some degree with the IGAs that we have with the school. And here we have a situation that, what you mentioned 20 years, or you mentioned 20 years, 10 years, 5 years, and every year that goes by, it gets worse. And it gets more costly for us. And the thing about it is, we have to do something about it.
I agree.
We have to find a solution.
I agree.
And here's the thing, again, we're in a position to make a decision. Bring us the item so that we can make a decision. But you guys have to go out and take care of it. However you do it. Whether it's you, whether it's with the attorneys, however you're gonna do it, if it's with staff, get the information, prepare it, and bring it so that we can make a decision. And end of story. However we resolve it. But the community wants us, if you look at it, they want us to resolve this. So I am requesting that for the following meeting, you bring us a solution. Get it
Think you can
done.
get something done by that? I know it's gonna be tough. But I mean,
Mr. Mayor,
not done, but I mean,
Mr.
at
Mayor,
least some type of discussion.
Mr. Mayor, I've asked the school district, I think I've offered to assist to pay for it.
No.
What I feel is our fair portion of it. I've got them a quote and taken it to the school district. the school district has told me they don't feel that they're responsible for it. I'm acting on the advice of our attorney that says, don't move forward on this because it's not our property. You incur liability by contracting on school property. What if something goes wrong? What if they don't like the work? What if it falls apart? Would the city be accountable for it? But I'm willing to do whatever direction you all want me to do. If you tell me, if you make a motion and pass it and tell me, contract with these people and go fix it, I'll do it, right? I'll follow through. I'm bringing back to you for a decision or for conversation what I know so far. It's not a lack of trying to do it. I mean, I would love to do it, and I want to fix it, and I see that there's a problem.
Can you, excuse me, John, can you as a school board member recommend this to the superintendent of the school there, or?
I can go and talk to him tomorrow. You know what I did, you know, in my position, is I wanted it to go through the process. I wanted it to go through the process. Let it go. You run with it. Before we get involved in this. So you brought us this information. What I can do is I can meet with the superintendent tomorrow and I can discuss it at that end. If need be, then we'll put it on
ask them,
yeah.
Did you get what Mr. Kissinger has right there? Does he have that we said that we pay 50%?
Right.
Does he have all that? And ask him, what's the deal?
Right.
When we get it.
And I can help you, Mayor. I can tell you what the deal is. The school doesn't want to accept the responsibility. They want us to contract with a contractor to get it. It's not so much about the money, right? It's, John, I don't want to engage the contractor. And I'm telling them, I think you should engage the contractor, not the city. That's our hang-up. That's our hang-up, Mr. Mayor.
However,
as soon as we can
I know
overcome
some
that,
information here, John. I know some information that I'll remain quiet to some extent because there were some talks going on with the contractor, which I personally will let you know that I didn't like the way that was handled. All right, and it's personal.
Okay.
And I don't think that needs to be discussed right now at this particular point in time. But I will let you know that I didn't like the things that were brought
So
up.
can that help us in the solution? See?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
it can. Yeah, and then I'll discuss it with you, Mayor.
Okay, all right.
I don't think that's anything right now that needs to be discussed, but there are some things that, and I think that we brought it up, I know that we have discussed this before. We need to be very careful with the things we say here.
Okay,
So,
all right. We'll wait
so
for that.
I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Is there anybody else want to say anything? No? Okay. John?
I think
Okay, go ahead, Vice Mayor.
Meanwhile, is the city taking any precautions on that side of the city's problem?
Yeah, there's barricades on there. There's a barricades, you don't walk on that side of the road. Or you go around it and stuff. But honestly, the sidewalk's not going anywhere. An elephant can walk over in the sidewalk.
Mr. Mayor, I've even asked Juan to look at bringing back a solution of building a temporary sidewalk around that, where we can barricade that off so people wouldn't have to walk into the streets to try to solve this. To me, I think it's really overkill. I think for what we need to do here, I think we really need, I just need some clear direction, whether we can accept as a city the responsibility to engage a contractor going and do that, or should we insist that the district does it? I think once we answer that question, I think we're smooth sailing. I think that's what the crux of it boils down to.
Let's work on that and see what we can do. Yes,
Just a
go ahead.
question, John. Whose fence is that?
The school.
That fence, it's the school's fence?
No, it's probably the city because of the height of the hill that's used so nobody will step. Unless the school put the fence up. The reason I'm saying is the city is because it's in the sidewalk.
Yeah, probably
The
city's
fence
fence,
is in the concrete at the sidewalk.
But
So
again,
it's not on the hill, on the dirt.
Yeah, it's
So
on
I
the
think it's
sidewalk.
probably the city put it so nobody would fall over the sidewalk.
So, Mr. Mayor, the fence part of it, And the sidewalk part of it is immaterial. It's so it doesn't mean anything. We can get that fixed
It's
any
just
day.
a cavity.
It's the whole side of the hill, building a retaining wall, right? And backfilling and treating the side of that hill so it doesn't future erode is where the issue lies. And if I get direction to do that, I'm more than happy to do it.
Okay, we'll move along. We'll talk later, John.
Yes, sir.
We'll see what Councilman Rojas has to say to me in my office.
Yeah, very important.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Number 9, orders. Number 1, consideration possible action of order 2020-01-001.
So move, Mayor.
Second.
Discussion.
Discussion. I just want to make sure that I'm clear on this. What's the difference between a fire apparatus and an engine? I mean, what are we purchasing here? When we talked about this during the discussions, we wanted a fire engine, like down there is what we talked about. Is that what we're buying here, a fire engine? Or, I remember you mentioning to me, Chief, that the engines are too big to get through some of our streets, and you are looking at something different. So I want to make sure what we're buying, because I don't want to have the same problem that we spend $150,000 on a truck, and the day that we got it, you wanted to return it because it wasn't to specs. So, tell me what we're buying.
So actually, Mayor and Council, it is, it's 2 fire trucks, 2 fire engines, fire apparatus. It's all pretty much interchangeable. What that request is doing is, when the budget was done prior, I'm not sure when it was done, but it was prior to me getting here, there was in the request for an engine, an ambulance, and then some SCBAs. We bought the SCBAs, or you guys approved the SCBAs the last board meeting in December. And so there's a little bit of money left over from that. So what we're requesting is that you pool the money for the fire engine, the money for the ambulance, and the remainder for the SCBAs so we can buy 2 fire trucks. These are the trucks that you see down there currently are called custom cabs. So they're the big square front ends they're called custom cabs. What these are commercial cabs, and so what that is actually is a crew cab Freightliner front end and a custom built back end to a Freightliner. So essentially, it's the Model 108 frame with a 380 or 390 horsepower motor on it. Essentially, it can be repaired anywhere. The repairs diesel motors and other internationals. It's what is the basis of most cement trucks. And the back of the truck is a custom built body. It's got a pump on it. So these trucks are specific to our environment. Essentially, if you look at fire apparatus, they're classified. So class 1 trucks, type 1 trucks, are for structural firefighting. They have a certain size pump and carry a certain size water. They go all the way up. You just keep going up. 6 is, we have a type 6, which is the brush truck that we purchased recently. So this is what is called a type 1, type 3 combo truck. And essentially what it does is, because it's 4-wheel drive and it has a high angle of approach and a high angle of departure, meaning it can go into places like washes and their 4-wheel drive, it gives you the ability for fire suppression in more remote rural areas and also in the city, because it has the structural capability and meets those requirements as well. One of the things that came up when we were talking about, or when there were people talking about the annexation, that we didn't have a 4-wheel drive fire truck, this gives us the ability to basically bring 750 gallons of water in a pump at 1,250 gallons per minute to pretty much anybody's front door, where we don't have that capability now. Basically, we would roll up in a brush truck with about 300 gallons of water and a smaller pump. So this is basically a combination, the best of both worlds, because what we do have is an abundance of vehicles, but not necessarily abundance of people. And so this truck they're super versatile. And the reason why we're asking for 2 is because, analyzing the current fleet, we have 3 vehicles that were purchased relatively close together, which are the 2 primary engines and the 3rd engine. They are all pre-2000 engines. One of them we spent roughly the book value on last year just maintaining. And so we're to a point that we really need to move on from those vehicles. And the reason why we're asking not for the ambulance this time is because if you buy a custom cab truck, essentially you're looking anywhere, $500,000 to $700,000 is the kind of the going rate for those now. We're able to get 2 of the commercial cab trucks for just under $700,000. Now that number's without tax. These we purchased from a factory direct, so we're not paying for it's like going to buy your Mustang from Ford as opposed to going from buying the Ford dealership. So we would have to pay state tax during the licensing part of it, but we wouldn't be paying necessarily the sales tax portion of it. Buying from like a vendor like Velocity, who is the one for Rosenbauer. There's a spreadsheet of all the different people that went through the RFP process. So that's why we're asking to kind of pool that money, because we still have to pay for tax and delivery and radios. So essentially, out of the money all being pulled together, we end up with about $98,000 left over. That's to outfit the trucks, get them here, do the inspections on them, and get the licensing. But that is our request. Now, you've said, as a council, I've heard the message of we need to know what you need. And so I will tell you that in the budget process, I'm going to come back and I will ask you for ambulances in that process. Ambulances are a lot less expensive than fire trucks, and so that's kind of why we have the money. If we combine it now to buy 2, it's a lot easier to come up with the money for an ambulance, which is roughly $160 to $180 depending on what manufacturer we go with. And so the ambulances we have now, the 2 primary ones that are the first out, are 2014s. And I think this is in the best interest of the city, because we are, like I said, we are spending a lot of money maintaining the pre-2000 trucks that we have, and this gives us the ability to be a lot more versatile than what we have with the equipment today. So
The bidder indicates that inspections are self-funded in comparison to an direct price from the other bidders. What does self-funded mean?
it means that he didn't include, that person who did that bid did not include us paying to have someone flown out to the factory. So the inspection process and all the other ones, they basically, that's why we broke it out in the RFP, is because they're, you know, some of them are saying like $3,500 to $4,000. It's for someone to fly to the factory and look at the trucks before they're complete to make sure that there's nothing wrong with them. And self-funding it, we can get there cheaper than the $3,000 to $4,000 that they put. I've already checked flights and hotels, because we can control that expense. We can pay per diem, as opposed to having them basically fund a trip for two people under how they want to fund it and charge us for it. And that's why I asked that broken out. Same thing with on the spreadsheet for the in-cab communication system. I wanted that broken out too, because that's something we could buy later. If they were going to upcharge it a lot, then we could do it later ourselves if we needed to. So the entire process, and what's not on that spreadsheet, was we requested a whole bunch of different options to try to decrease the pricing. So like, do you get a discount for buying 2 trucks? Do you get a discount for prepaying? And so, because some of the times, like, they're paying on a commercial cab, they're paying interest on the chassis being at their facility while they build it. And so, essentially, those savings weren't a whole lot. So that's why those aren't really included. I mean, in what we presented, we'll probably make more on interest keeping the money in the bank than we would cutting a check tomorrow for that amount of money. So that's why we didn't present those. They were seemingly inconsequential savings compared to the RFP process that we went through to kind of drive that price down.
Well, Mayor, you know, I'm supportive of this, like we've all been. We want to make sure that our public safety departments are well equipped, that our firefighters and police officers have the best equipment so that they are safe in all situations that they are placed in. We got a recommendation the last time for the fire truck. That was a disaster. I don't know what happened to that truck, but we spent good money on it, and I don't even know if you're using it now or if you're gonna put the water pumps on there. I don't know. Nobody has said anything.
Yeah, we're still attempting to get the third bid on putting a pump on there. That's looking at about $30,000 to put water and pump on it. The other thing we're doing is we're looking at the structure of the department in general. And because right now we have essentially 8 engineers in an open engineer position, we're talking about, but we're doing a shift bid process. That's long, way off the subject, but we're moving the third engineer position down to Station 1, and essentially, once the ladder's done with its repair, most likely the ladder will be there, and if we do keep that truck, it'll either be a rescue vehicle that goes out with all the technical rescue equipment on it, or we'll put water on it and use it as what in other areas is called an LT, so a ladder tender, so they could go out for things and have equipment on it, but not have to roll the ladder truck as a third response vehicle. So there is a plan for it currently. We're just working through all the steps in the process, and once we get the third bid, you will probably see me back here going, okay, I have a bid, and it's roughly $30,000 to put a water and a pump on there, so at least there is some suppression capability on it.
These things shouldn't happen, Mr. Kissinger.
I agree.
Mayor?
Yes.
I conclude I'm supportive of this thing. I just want to I don't want to come back and find out that what you're telling us is something else. Well, short or something, okay? But I know you'll be here, so I'll have somebody to go after.
I will be happy if there's a problem for you to come after me. We got broad shoulders.
Don't worry, Chief, you're okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay.
Are we ready?
For a vote?
Yes. You call for the question?
Call for a question.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Number 2, consideration possible action on order 2020-01-002.
So moved. Second?
Discussion. Discussion.
Mayor? Did you want to say something?
No.
Mayor? I conclude.
Okay, hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Mayor and Council's report on current affairs, or current events. Do we have anything?
I do.
Go ahead.
Mayor, I do want to, my grandkids came down to see the parade over here. And once again, I do want to congratulate the city of Nogales, in particular Councilwoman Melendez Lopez and First Lady Kathy Garino, because I think we got a lot of positive communications, rapport, PR on those houses. It was something different. We need to make sure we make it bigger for next year. People are now looking forward to something, and they really enjoyed it. I heard a lot of positive feedback from them.
Mr. Bernard, can I piggyback on that?
Sure.
What happened to the little houses, Kathy? Were you guys, did you save them for next year?
As a matter of fact, today we started removing all the decorations from the little houses, and tomorrow we will be taking them apart and putting them in
great.
straps and putting them away. Yeah, tomorrow we should get all that done.
Thank you, because a lot of people were
Yes, they will be, yeah, they
asking
will be
about that.
ready. They will be used next year.
Yeah.
They're just made to disassemble and reassemble
Excellent.
for next year.
Yeah.
The only suggestion that I would just make, and I don't know, maybe Mr. Guerra can help you because I have no expertise, something to cover them for the weather. That's the only thing that I would, because they put a lot of effort into it, and maybe next year that there won't be any rain or anything, but just in case.
But you know, we asked them not to use paper.
I mean, you can use any other thing, plastic or whatever. But even though it was paper, they lasted the whole month. So
Yeah, the schools were asked to
Yep.
use certain materials
Yep.
that could withstand the weather.
Oh.
Because I think you're gonna get more participation
Yeah.
from the
Yeah.
schools.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
I think they took a beating, but they look good to the
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
end.
that's right.
Just like I take the beating on this agenda item, but I still look good at the end.
Hey, you still look good though. You look okay.
Marcel, thank you. I noticed a lot of your department was there helping out and
Mhm.
everything, putting
Yep.
everything together, and I thought that was very good. They all worked very well. And I also want to thank Mr. Guerra for those reflectors that you put on Linda Vista Drive. They've been very helpful for us on that street for that. I conclude.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Mayor?
Go ahead.
Again, finally got another update on my tournament in July.
Okay.
July 21st through July 30th. Will be the regional tournament for the intermediate baseball.
Perfect.
And I'll be going up to, on the 24th, to regional meetings up in San Diego and trying to get the tournament for more years.
Great. Good job. Good job, Councilman. Anybody else? Hello?
Well, like, I need to say again, thank you. I mean, it was unbelievable. I mean, it was really teamwork. Marcel, thank you for all the job. And it was not only, I mean, it was everybody. Kathy, you and Mr. Kissinger, it's everybody towards the Casitas project. Thank you a lot, and it's going to be more work this year, okay?
Okay. I got about 6 pages of mine. Can we handle it? Okay, December 2nd, we held a meeting, the planned meeting, actually for the annual Christmas night parade. December 4th, prepared for the attended annexation hearing. The same, prepared for the attended regular session, and received updates on staff regarding the committee for the census. Remember the census, my friends. Let's work on that. Is this illegal?
No.
Are you sure about that? I was part of that.
I know you were. I was just pointing out
This is longer.
I know, that's why I want to make sure you read yours.
Okay, here. You read yours even though we attended the same meetings.
Mr. Mayor, yours is only
Oh,
to be
this is
read.
longer. Oh, this is worse, guys. No. Okay. I'm going to jump all the way to December 7th, all right? It's been a long day today. Okay, well, as you know, there was a lot of participants for the houses. There's Coronado School, Challenger, AJ Mitchell, Desert Shadows, Mary Welty, Lincoln, Mexicayo, Lourdes Sacred Heart, Nogales High, Boys and Girls Club, Farmers Market, Consulado de Mexico, the Bowman Seniors Residence, Culture and Arts Commission, Santa Cruz Training Center, La Familia, Nogales Tactical. And these were 18 of the homes that were decorated, and like we mentioned and we talked, Councilwoman Melendez and I, and I'm sure Mr. Valona was part of the conversation also, and the First Lady, that 18 is going to be a small number for next year. We're adding some more for next year. And the things we want to plan for next year, just for your information, is Marcel, we plan to put some outlets by the trees areas, permanent outlets, because we had some issues with some extension cords, for what I understand. Legs came out of them and then they walked away. I'm serious, it happened. So we want to make sure that we're able to do something better next year so that doesn't happen. But it was great, and like the First Lady said, they'll be coming down tomorrow, and you'll be out of the park by this week, all right? And well, as you were here for the presentation of the plaques, and Challenger was number 1, Robert Bragger was number 2, and Lucas was number 3. I had a great time with a German photographer that shadowed me for 4 days, and not only me, but I think he went with a judge and the police department, and so that he took pictures, and he's going to be putting them on a book that's going to be coming out this summer. So Nogales will be part of that book, and he said the minute they finish it, they'll be sending a copy to us for City Halls for us to be here, so it's great. Attended the men's soccer championship awards ceremony in Pearson. Attended the bite, and who was with me? Councilman and Mr. Hanesian was with me there. We were there at the tennis courts. You were at the tennis courts?
No, not the tennis courts,
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
the bicycles.
The bicycles. We were at the tennis courts, and it was a great event, and a lot of kids turned out, and believe it, they're a hit. The tennis courts are a hit, and I love that. It was we've been waiting for many years, and I want to thank Mr. Hanesiano because he's the one that's been pressuring the council and pressuring Mr. Bachiller for a while already. So Mr. Hanesiano was the backbone of the whole thing. What was that?
He's good at spending our money.
Oh yeah, yes, he is. He is.
Bring in some revenue.
Yeah, that's what he needs to do, huh? Yeah. And then I also met with the members of the Arizona Commerce Authority and Santa Cruz County Small Business Development, and we have great opportunities there for small businesses. So as a city, we need to participate and also be part of a team like that for economic development. On the 21st of December, I attended the grand opening of the ribbon cutting ceremony for Cero Estrés. Mr. Barona was there, and actually the majority of it were, Mr. Rojas wasn't there. I don't think you were there also. But we were all there. Mr. Kissinger was there, even though I wasn't part of his meetings. But
That's on mine.
yeah, that was on yours too. Okay. You don't have to repeat that. And let me write some more stuff. Wait a minute. No. I'll stop right there, guys. I'll stop. But it was a great month actually. And, it ended good, and actually I think it started very good. Very good. We're having the talks, before I forget, for the court, the city magistrate court at the bank building. Everything's going well on that, and we're having some meetings. We just had one yesterday. It's going well. So that's going to come back to you, presentation soon. Okay?
Okay, because I've been here, I was on the purchasing of that. I'm on my last year, and we did this on my first year.
We'll get it out. We'll get it out before you leave.
Okay.
Okay? Unless you want to run for re-election. Stick around for another 4 years and get it done.
Future agenda items, Mayor? Under future agenda items.
I'm laughing because you should have seen his face when I said re-election.
Mr. Mayor?
He goes, don't do that. No.
Mr. Mayor? Before we move to future agenda items, and I write them all down, the ones that I bring to you prior to every meeting to see to if we should include them in the agenda, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
But before I get there, could I have a moment to say something?
Yes, go ahead.
I just wanted to say it's been a privilege to sit in this chair as the acting city manager for the last 6 months. It was a pleasure working with all of you, and I'm truly inspired by some of the wisdom that you all share with me and helped me get this job done. It's a difficult job, but I enjoyed it immensely, and I'll keep working very hard for what I'm doing. But I also want to recognize the young man that we brought up to help me, who did an excellent job. And Robert, thank you so much for your help. And we're all looking forward to working as a team with Mr. Johnson starting Monday when he gets in. We've already started, so I just want to thank you again for your all support.
Thank you very much too, John. You did a great job, and you've always done a great job, you know. And Robert, outstanding.
So with that said, Mr. Mayor, Dr. Barona.
So we have to take some money out of our budget
Yes, sir.
for La Despedida because they're leaving.
There's
Oh, no,
plenty of
they're
money.
not next door.
There's a surplus of money in the city clerk's budget, we'll take it out.
No, but thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to say that.
Yes. Okay, you got a report? No?
No, I'm waiting for my future agenda items, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
I got both pens ready.
No, don't worry, he's gonna give me the list. He does that.
I gave it to you.
And we're doing it.
Well, this is the same thing that's coming up that didn't come out.
Sure.
Keno Park, the street paving there that you were gonna work with ADOT on, see if we could help them out over there. Because the city invested what, $55,000 for the landscaping and the electrical. It looks beautiful now. And so we can fix up that, see if we can do it.
That ball's in ADOT's court. I just reminded them last week and I said, Mr. District Engineer, please let me know if you can help us get this done, because it is ADOT property. And I said, I have a councilman who wants it on the agenda every month. So could you please just let me know if what I can report back to him. So I've been on top of that. I've been communicating that we are asking ADOT to partner with us to pave the Keno Park property.
And that was part of the conversation, that's true.
Also, since my first year here, I've been requesting this, the thing on the EBT board, how they are selected.
Sure, Mr. Mayor, I think the appropriate place for that future
On the
agenda
board.
item would be on the boards. And that's what I've been advised by legal, and I've advised the mayor when we bring this up for the agenda, that the appropriate place to have that placed on an agenda would be with the board. And I believe the chairman of the board is present in the room. So I would ask him to make sure that he accommodates your request and put that on the agenda.
Well, I've been talking about this since my first year here. Nobody's ever said that. 3 years to find that out. Marcel, if you would, and let me know so I can attend the meeting. Also, I wanted to have a discussion to make sure on Stone Garden. Also, the mishap over there of selling somebody else's plots at the cemetery, and they haven't found any solution. Or the Calixto plots that were sold to somebody else and even buried some person in their plots. I want to find out what solution. Also, we said we were going to have a study on the connection fees to find out here again what can be done so that people don't feel that they're getting outpriced. Because, like I said before, Rio Rico population is greater than Nogales' population now, because they've gone over there because it's cheaper to build. It was my understanding that this meeting we were going to have the preliminary studies on the compensation study, and it wasn't on the agenda. I requested the tobacco 21, but finally I can say that the Drug Administration snuck in the federal regulation at the last minute into the budget to raise the age to 21 for tobacco and vaping. And finally, President Trump did something right and signed it. And so I don't need to put that on the agenda because that's federal law.
So that's not on the agenda?
No, no.
Winning.
But all the rest of them, yes, right?
Yes. Also, last time there was a presentation here, I just want to make sure, that's how come I'm asking to go back, on that offer of those plots from the Knights of Pythias. Is that just, I want to make, is it a legitimate deal? Somebody to just come over here to see it, and I thought it was going to be on here. I want to know, is it legitimate? If it is, what are we going to do?
Sure. Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I have been actively engaged the most I can be with the Knights of Pythias. I know that you've been privy to some of the conversations.
I was about to say that, yeah.
I don't have anything to bring back to Mayor and Council at this time, but I am doing everything I possibly can to engage the Knights of Pythias and to see if we can acquire or purchase some cemetery plots that they currently own. And when I have that information, that's also going to help me make recommendations to Mayor and Council on item number 4 of your items, Dr. Borana, which would be the Calixto problem. So those two things are pending, and I'm working on them. There's just a lot of other moving parts that need to happen before I can come back and make a recommendation to Mayor and Council.
And also the compensation one.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
compensation.
we discussed that one, and we were gonna put it on the agenda, but we discussed it, because he wants to get back to the people that prepared that document, so we can start
And we have a
working on
meeting
it.
planned in February with all
So-
directors and so we want to come back to you with good information on this as part of the budget, to give you a good presentation on that. So that's why it's not on the agenda, because I don't have a presentation to give you at this time on the compensation study.
We sat down and discussed all the items you gave me on the list, Stone Garden, all of them. We sat down and discussed them, and we have come up with better ways of bringing it to the council instead of just talking about it and saying something that's not complete. And that's why they weren't placed on the agenda. I placed the ones that we could, you know, that you prepared last time. I placed them on the agenda this time, like the library and all the other ones that we did. But those, you know, I told Mr. Kissinger, let's not put them on the agenda, because if we don't have something that's, or they don't have something to bring to you as staff, I really don't think that we should put it on the agenda unless there's something good for us to, you know, sink our teeth in.
Well, that's the whole thing when I am an elected official, and I would like for you, when I ask for something, or anybody asks for something, even if you just give me an update on it, but when you don't put something on that a council person, an elected official asks for, I think that's kind of putting my item of concern brushed to the side. I don't care if you put it up and say, right now I don't have anything, I'm working on this for these plots, that's something. It might be minor, but it's important to me.
So Dr. Barona, I just want to clarify this, since we're having a conversation about this. It's my understanding, and I could be wrong, but it's my understanding that the agenda is set with the city manager, right, in consultation with the mayor. So I can tell you that every future agenda item that you give me, and I write them down, and I keep them there, prior to the agenda, and I think Letty can attest to that, we go and we speak with the mayor and we consult with the mayor on what our agenda is going to look like. And after the consultation with the mayor, like he just explained to you, that's how items get either on the agenda or not on the agenda. I have no problem ever having a conversation with you about any of these items at any time. But to make it to the agenda, I consult with the mayor at this time. If the charter changes and says no matter what, it's on the agenda, I'm good with that too. I'm good with any direction that you all as a board want to give me. I'll follow those directions.
Well, you're right.
Thank you,
That's
Mr.
what the charter says right now. But I just think my experience here has been, especially my first 2 years here, horrendous of trying to get something placed on the agenda.
So
horrendous.
Dr. Barona, I just want to let you know that I've been sitting here since,
Right.
you know.
You weren't there the first 2 years.
Okay.
But this past year, you loved it.
Also,
1000%
I asked
better.
on this one, I've asked Arturo Maduro, who's the director of the Parking Industrial de Nogales, that has 6,500 workers, 24 companies that's owned by the city of Nogales, Sonora, to come and make a presentation here. If you could just work on that, Mayor. I'd like to hear what they're doing, and maybe we can work something, listen, what are these companies looking for? Maybe we can attract some of these companies to do something on the Nogales, Arizona side though too, just to see what they're doing. Arturo Maduro.
Sure it's not Arturo Carrera?
No.
Dr. Barona, you have his contact information you can share with me, or?
Yes, I'll get that. The bank annex, you already told me. Also, if we can have a standard, Mayor, every meeting on a financial, we get the financial report, but sometimes there's questions and we want to talk about here so people know how we're doing with our finance. But that could be a report every month on the finance report, so we understand and the people know how we're doing financially too, with our revenues and everything. We get the sheet, she handed out the
Yes.
sheets, but we need to discuss that too. And at the same thing, Mayor, on my 3 years here being recently, 4 before that, but last year was the best as far as dialogue on developing the budget. The only thing I would just like to suggest is, it was very good, but it was too compact, and at the end, we were burnt out. So if we could talk to the new city manager and start talking about the budget in April. I know sometimes some state legislation affects our budget, but if we can just start talking about, you know, the various departments, so it's not all cramped up on us in 2-3 days, and at the end, we're just exhausted, and we don't want to.
So, Dr. Barona, very well noted, and I know we're working on putting a much earlier budget process together, and we're waiting for Monday to speak with the city manager. But help me with a future agenda item. Are you just giving me some direction? This
Yes,
is not,
that one is, I was just talking about the finance report, but I just brought this up on the budget.
That's not on the list.
No, just for you guys, so we can have some more time. It was great last year,
Right.
but we did everything in 3 or 4 days, and, you know, it's a $55 million, 3 or 4 days. It's tough.
I appreciate the communication.
Yeah, we'll do that.
18. I think that's it.
That's it. God. See, now I don't even have any agenda items, you know? I don't even want to talk about it. I don't have any. All right.
Just, Mr. Kissinger,
Yes,
you know, I mentioned it on our interview, but let's see what direction we're going to get on the census. You know.
Would you like an update on the census? Is that,
Well,
that
yeah, you know, how can we approach it or help?
We're doing it already.
Okay.
Yeah,
You know,
Judy's the one
what's-
working on it.
Okay. Just
Actually,
so,
Judy and the First Lady are working on it.
okay.
we'll prepare an update on the census for the next regular meeting. I'll suggest it.
You know,
on the
let's
agenda.
try to dot all i's and cross all t's
Yeah,
before
we're working
we
with
get
the
there.
county.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, John, motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second, third.
Kind of
Let's
early.
get ready. Let's stick around for
Go
another
home.
20 minutes. No.
Go home.